Hey guys, it's Hayden here making another video. Today I'm going to go through the core principles of spiritual and mental health development and improvement. Let's get into it. So I've had a lot of requests for specific videos about specific topics like suicide or depression or psychosis recovery, and I was trying to figure out how to make a video for each of those, but I decided to kind of make a video that covers all of them, because a lot of the process by which someone improves is similar for all of these different categories. And it's also similarly outlined by a lot of spiritual practices as well. So let's get into what those are. So before I get into these principles, I do want to say that if whatever you're experiencing currently right now is overwhelming or you feel like it's too much for you to handle, please reach out for help. While it is possible to make improvements on your own, and many people do that, sometimes help is required. Sometimes the pain is so much or the suffering is so much that it's hard to deal with on our own, and we need extra support for that. So please reach out for help if you feel like it's too overwhelming for you. That being said, the core principle of being able to improve and being able to make progress in whatever mental health or whatever spiritual aspect that you're trying to improve in is going to be awareness. So awareness, I know a lot of people talk about awareness and a lot of people talk about many different things like consciousness and all that stuff, and it can be really overwhelming and kind of ungrounded. So I kind of want to give you what awareness means in a very grounded, practical approach. So awareness, from how I understand it, is basically being able to understand or follow or be aware of what is happening inside of you and around you. So what this looks like is basically making a conscious effort to some degree of placing your attention on what the inner dialogue is, what your feelings are, and sort of what's happening in your environment. For mental health and spirituality, usually the focus is going to be on what's happening inside of you. Not always. There's practices on focusing on your environment as well too. But for the most part, I'm going to focus on internal focus. When we're talking about awareness, we're trying to notice what's going on inside of us, not engaging with it per se, not trying to like add to the dialogue of what's happening inside, but just noticing what's happening. So noticing the kinds of things you tell yourself. Like one of the things that I noticed today is that I had an expectation of that I should be doing something else, or I should be doing this or that. And that creates a pressure and an anxiety and kind of a tension in the present moment. And so by becoming aware of that, and then deciding, is that a true statement? Is that something that is helpful at this point? So if I, for example, am doing something and I'm like, oh, I should be doing something else, that's not allowing myself to just be present here in the moment. And there's a judgment, there's a resistance with that. And so being able to identify that, I can be like, do I really need to be doing that other thing right now? I can always say like, hey, like right now I'm not doing it, but I can plan for that in the future. I can write it down and create a plan for it for the future. Or do I even actually need to be doing that? Is that something is that a view that I've been told that isn't necessarily true or doesn't necessarily serve me? A lot of awareness is being able to engage with our mind, engage with our belief system in a way that is free from conditioning to some degree. So it's basically allowing you to have the freedom to engage with how you see the world and the way you believe your reality to be and the way you treat yourself freely. So you can choose to be like, well, that view doesn't apply to me anymore, or this belief isn't accurate, or if you're really hard on yourself and you're saying like, I'm worthless, is that true? Is that an actual reality, or is that something that you're assuming or just straight up not true? Which I can tell you right now is untrue. You are worthy. And so being able to notice when you have those thoughts or emotions, I haven't really talked about emotions yet, but then you can choose how you engage with them. One thing with emotions are similar. You're paying attention to them. With thoughts, they're kind of like physical constructs that you can identify and like, okay, well, this is creating this feeling. If you change the thought, then it changes the feeling, possibly, or it creates freedom in that space. With emotions, it's different because sometimes they can linger and they can be present for a while. So a lot of times with emotion, what helps me is to be able to just focus on the emotion, pay attention to it, and just be curious about where is this emotion coming from. Because sometimes we don't know exactly what's causing an emotion, so we have to spend time sitting with it in order to identify the source of that emotion. And a lot of times with things like anxiety and depression and things like that can last a while, there's an idea of where we think it's coming from, and then there's actually something much deeper than that is more true to where it's coming from. So for example, I had a lot of anxiety in my relationship with my girlfriend. I would have these feelings that it wasn't going to work out, it wasn't going to be good or whatever. It came from fear, and I had to learn that it came from fear because I had to sit with that anxiety and that fear of that it wasn't going to work out and understand what really that meant. Where is that coming from? And I learned by sitting with that anxiety and sitting with that emotion that it has nothing to do with the relationship not working out or that we're not compatible or anything like that, which is obviously not true. Everybody around me is like, Haley, like, she's amazing, you guys are amazing together. It had more to do with my fear of abandonment, my fear of feeling love towards somebody, because for some reason, which I'm still exploring a little bit further, is I have a fear of feeling love towards another person. Maybe at some point I loved someone very much and they left me, maybe when I was little or maybe in a past relationship or something, but I think it's been there for a while. So I think it's more towards something that happened when I was little. But learning to understand why certain things come up in our consciousness and learning to understand what's happening inside of us gives us the freedom to be able to choose something different instead of always operating under the same conditioned patterns. So any kind of mental health leaps or progress or any sort of spiritual development and growth, to me, I kind of see them as the same thing, in my opinion. It comes down to first becoming aware of what's happening, and then from there, with that awareness, you can choose to make more choices, and sometimes we still don't have a choice. So if we're burdened by something that is very difficult to overcome, or there's an emotion that's so strong that we don't have the awareness to be able to stay focused on it, it's just so painful that we choose to escape instead. It's okay. That's part of developing your awareness. That's part of becoming more present, becoming more able to sit with things. That's a practice. It's a muscle. Mental health progress and spiritual development is basically no different than going to the gym and lifting and working out. It's a training. It's training your awareness. It's training your ability to stay present to a degree and pay attention to what's going on inside you, and that's a muscle that you train. And it's really unfortunate that this isn't really taught in school, that it's not something that society is taught as a whole, because it can literally change lives. So just know that this process does take time, just like going to the gym. You may only be able to pay attention or notice certain little things, and that's okay. Just like when you go to the gym, you can only lift littler weights because you haven't trained that muscle. And over time, you can start to notice bigger and bigger things. Notice things that maybe you didn't even notice before, and now they've come into your awareness, and you understand where that comes from, and you can choose to change that, or you can choose a different choice. So that's kind of what I wanted to share with you guys today. Just know that it does take time, but it is possible. and you can make progress with it. And remember to nurture yourself. Remember to take care of yourself, and remember that you are worthy of love and affection, and to feel peace and joy in this world. And you can do it. It just takes practice and time. So if you need help, make sure you get the help you need. Sometimes we do need assistance. And as always, guys, make sure to seek your truth and to take time for yourself. And I will catch you in future videos. Bye for now.